Hello everyone and welcome back to JB Subtle Gaming, where today I've got details on the Nintendo Switch. So this is a system, if you're not familiar with it, is going to be Nintendo's new console coming out on March 3rd for $300. And is it going to be worth it? Well, based on new information we've got recently, I want to do a little video, give you the information that you need to know, not every single detail. If you're not familiar with it, it is a system that, as showing off here in the video, you can use as a home console system. You plug it into a mount and play it like you would a console. Or you can take apart the controller and take it with you on the go. And last but not least, a feature where those two parts that come off of the main controller and go onto the sides in order to make it into like a handheld tablet with full controls, just like a mobile system would be, well, you can separate those and use them as two different controllers that you hold sideways that you'll also see in this video in a little bit. So here's real quickly about the tech specs. So there is kind of a custom chip that's being used in this, but what is really important is that basically the handheld unit that you're using itself, and it does have a kickstand you can use there, has a 720p touch screen. So it does not have the resolution that some other, like iPads or phones may have on their screen. So that could be a little bit disappointing. However, when you plug the system in at home, it should be capable of being more powerful, maybe being able to run games in 1080p. The unit that you plug into itself doesn't actually have any post-processing where it improves the processing, but the system will be able to use more power because it's plugged in and it's drawing power directly, so you don't need to worry about battery life. So it can be a little bit more powerful at home. It'll be up to developers to decide if they actually want to make the different settings with their games. Now, something I want to point out is battery life. They estimate anywhere from 2.5 to 6 hours playing it with a full charge, depending on the game. A game like Zelda, kind of the big launch game, should give you about 3 hours of game time, they estimate. So not a huge battery lifetime, but then again, based on, the power of the system, whatever, I guess that's pretty much what was expected. As far as the technology goes, you do have the touchscreen on the main screen, and then these Joy-Cons, they have a little bit features not shown here, we'll get into in just a second, where they have an IR sensor, where they can sense certain gestures and things like that. They can basically look out in front of the controllers, if you will. That's used for certain things that we'll talk about again in just a moment here. They have motion controls like Wii controllers do, and they also have HD Rumble, which is basically a more advanced version of Rumble, which is surprisingly, out of those features, the one that I'm the most interested in because I actually enjoy a little bit of feedback when you're playing the games. So there's the basics of the system, but I do definitely have some problems with the system. I was pretty excited when I saw this original trailer release, but now let's talk about where I think this system might have a few downfalls. Now, first and foremost, I want to talk about potentially my biggest issue with this system is that they are going to have a paid subscription service like we have with Sony and Microsoft already right now. The issue with it is the value of that service. Now, I will say, first of all, it is going to be free for a while when the system comes out. However, it will be a paid service eventually. And here are my issues with it. First of all, Nintendo isn't big on the multiplayer gaming. So in order to play games online, like we think of on other systems, Call of Duty and all that stuff, where normally if you're playing on a console, you do have to pay a service in order to play. Nintendo isn't really strong in those sort of games, so are they going to have enough of those games in order to make the service worthwhile? And then the additional bonuses you get for the service. The reason why a lot of people use these services nowadays is not just to be able to play games online, but also for the bonuses you get, being able to get access to games and certain things at discounted prices or even for free that you get to keep as long as you keep the service. Now, what Nintendo is offering is basically one free game from their older Nintendo, Super Nintendo libraries that they have available, which, first of all, they tend to release those very slowly and individually for each console, and you have to rebuy them for each console. They don't carry over. And you basically are going to get one of those available games per month, and you're basically just renting the game for a month. It's not that you get to keep that game and then get a second game in the second month and then have both of those games for as long as you continue service. You only have that game for a month and then it goes away, and then if you want it, you have to purchase it. So one game per month that you can't keep. So only ever one game. That's the worst value of any of the other systems. So not only do they now offer a paid service to, play online, which, you would want for games like Splatoon and things like that had been free up until now, but there aren't as many games as the other systems, and the bonuses for joining the system isn't as good as the other systems. This, I think, is a real bad move for Nintendo. Other things that are potentially a bad move, the gimmicks. So we're showing a little bit of the most recent event that Nintendo did where they showed off some more about the system. We got more details with things like this. 1-2 Switch, this game where, again, you can use the IR sensors to shoot at each other like you're in the Wild West. And this is just one of the things that I was talking about. And they're going to have a bunch of other little mini games where you can do things like this. And the thing is, it may look kind of interesting at first, but let's think about how much real functionality this game is going to have. Now, they didn't really show much. They showed a bunch of people doing stuff, looking like they were sword fighting and doing all kinds of random things. But how in-depth are these experiences going to be? And shaving also, I'm a little bit confused here. So it looks like minigames. It probably looks more than anything like WarioWare or something like that, if you're familiar with those games. And this is the sort of thing that the conference focused on, and this is why I'm really worried about the Switch. So you have the gimmicks of the touchscreen, the controllers with the IR sensors and motion controls, and actually these things don't excite me, they worry me. I feel like they drove up the price of the system, where you could have had possibly a more expensive system or a more powerful system, or a less expensive system, or a system at the same price that is more powerful if you didn't have all these additional gimmicks. And the fact that they're focusing on these gimmicks in the presentation really worries me that we're going to get a bunch of shovelware, just garbage tech demo games for the Switch that have either a focus on these things, the IR sensors, the motion controls, and the things like that, or we're going to get stuff that shoehorns this stuff in and doesn't really work with the game, instead of just making a system that allows you to play current gen, at least almost, if not current gen level sort of games on the go. And if the system focused on that, I think you'd have a really good thing going. But something else to bear in mind, not only do you have all these gimmicks and the focus on these gimmicks, but these controllers, when you separate them, they're really tiny. Sure, maybe they work real quick for, or nice for like a quick draw thing and you hit one button. But how many times are you going to want to do quick draw against your friends? How exciting is that going to be after the first couple of times you try it? To me, the Nintendo Switch, if they actually focused on bringing core type games or just full good games to the market that you can play at home or portably, they'd be in a good position, because while it doesn't quite have the resolution as some other things, the fact that you have full controls allows you to do all kinds of games that you can't really do on an iPad or a phone, or at least you can't do very well. You can try to do, but they're usually pretty bad. You have a place where you could do something really, really cool and provide gamers with, yes, some of this quirky stuff, but also, really great games. And here's the deal. I'm worried that's not what we're going to do. And lastly, Nintendo doesn't have a very good launch lineup. Zelda's the big premier game. Zelda's gone open world. And is that going to be a good move? I don't know. Or is it going to be just crafting and survival and a big open map with nothing to do, as many open world games have now become? So I'm really worried about games like this, about 1-2 Switch, about the focus on these gimmicky things rather than the core gaming experience. And while I'm okay with those things existing, I'm worried about Nintendo, because if they bring just that core gaming experience to people and give it with full controls, I feel like they could have the market in order to do something pretty amazing that you can definitely play at home or on the go with a at least similar experience, having full controls in a way you can't on other portable systems, and a power level that you can't on the 3DS or things like that. There really is a market for that, but instead we're getting gimmicks. So we'll see. I feel like if Nintendo actually gets some third-party support, actually gets some games out there that does more than, say, this ARMS game that is coming up where, you're using the motion controls to launch at each other, does something better than games where you have to use these little teeny tiny controls, especially the other one of the two sides where the joystick is almost in the middle, and they are very teeny tiny. So basically you've got the joystick, a shoulder button, and the 4 buttons, but you probably going to have hand cramping issues. If they focus on also bringing us games that use the full controller, that use the full power of the system, and don't focus on touchscreen and motion controls and gimmicks, then I feel like Nintendo could have something good if they manage to meet both demands, the core gamer demands and these kind of gimmicky things. But if instead they focus on this sort of stuff that we're seeing and make that the main focus of the system, I'm really worried what we're going to have on our hands is a Wii U 2. Yeah. Because when the Wii came out, it really dazzled people, and Wii Sports was great. I spent lots of hours playing Wii Sports. It was fun, it was new, it was fresh. These things aren't new and fresh, and while you can make an enjoyable experience out of it, I did enjoy Wii Sports. If that's all you're bringing, and also along with Wii Sports you had probably over 100 garbage games that use these gimmicks not very well, and that if that's what this system ends up being, I'm pretty sure this system's going to end up failing in the long run, no matter how well the pre-orders have gone. And again, you have Nintendo not making enough for pre-order demand, as they do. But if they actually can have some well-produced stuff that uses these gimmicks but also core games, then I think the Nintendo Switch might actually be, in my opinion, the system to have if they manage to do that. So far, we'll see. We'll see what the new Zelda is like. We'll see what other big games are coming out. But right now, I'd be worried. $300 for this system, if they don't have the games, isn't going to be worth it. But if they do, then, I'm looking forward to seeing it. So, Nintendo, it's in your courts. And hopefully, you'll provide not just to one set of gamers, but to gamers as a whole who actually want a powerful system on the go with full controls. So, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.